G'day fellow creatures of the internet, this is Musty Argonian here on YouTube, Bruzo Dragonius, and today there's going to be like a different sort of background a bit. I know for sure that the lighting isn't really that much good if I face the other way, but now I'm facing into the window and that, so I'm just going to hopefully have the lighting has to be better, but that's on a bit of an update for you as well. So for today's video, I'm going to talk to you about something that brought to my attention, and I know that it's been voted upon on my Furry amino. Besides this, Fursuit streaming and or something to do with appreciation of a Fursuit handler. So I know for sure that for those that are following me on Furry amino, thank you very much, because you know I'm doing videos just for you, and I know that this has brought to my attention, and I know that this has been brought to other Furry YouTube's attention as well. People like Bakari, Ragehound, Odin, and all those others have done it on this topic, and I'm just going to follow suit. This episode of Argonian.POV, the topic for this is younger furries and my opinions on them. Now, to be honest with you, I know for sure that younger furries pretty much making up the entirety of this fandom today. I could see them scaling on top of the older furries, or the grey models. To be quite honest with you, I have no real bad opinion. In other words, I have nothing personally negative towards younger furries. You know, I'm pretty much fine with that. As a matter of fact, they are really awesome. You guys, you younger furries that are watching this, you're very awesome. Just to join in this fandom. Just because that I haven't heard anything bad towards, or have no negative opinion or nothing against younger furries, but there are some furries out there that do have things that are really bad. I know for sure that younger furries have, there seems to be a bit of a negative reputation of them, towards them. Actually, at most I do agree upon, but there's no reason of older furries to bully younger ones. There's no reason for that. Let's discuss the negatives first. One of them is, yeah, people do complain about them because they're cringy ass, or something like that. We in our lives do go through this phase that we are cringy ourselves. And the thing about it is, they're just learning the ropes. You know, that's why they're being cringy. They're just discovering, they are more likely to discover the furry fandom through the internet. Younger furries are really fascinated with the costumes and that, and I know that they're in this stage where they are very curious. Let's take with me for instance. Even though at high school I didn't even know what being a furry is. I thought that furries are actually non-existent. They're just mascots, you know, dressing up in giant animal costumes. I remember when I was in year 12 or year 10 or wherever, you know, I know for sure that we don't have YouTube because we're not allowed to go to YouTube, but I remember during lunchtime or recess or whatever, even though at some stages I was hanging with my school friends instead, but there's some other stages where you see me in the library searching things up on Google and looking at animal mascot costumes and that. I know that as a hatchling myself, I haven't even heard of fursuiters. As far as I'm concerned, this I see as an animal mascot costume, or at least an animal costume. And yeah, I've been learning about who furries are, and yeah, I was really fascinated on how these people in those mascot costumes can see out of those eyes. So, you know, that really fascinates me, and from there makes me to want to like wear on myself. And these things that I know that there are people that owns these things and not mascots, but they're fursuiters, and I thought that they're really cool. And yeah, I do like dragons and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid and all that kind of stuff. But that's going too far off tangent. I'll talk to you about that in the other day. The second why younger furries are hated on is because they are seen as pests. And by what I mean that, I'm not saying that you younger furries are pests or something like that, but there's some things that I heard from about younger furries pestering artists or something like that, whether that they're requesting free art free fursuits or their characters being drawn, or want some free drawings of the character because they simply can't draw, or simply feel that they can't draw themselves, and or requesting free fursuits or whatever, or cheap fursuits. You know, I probably will get down and discuss more of it on a future video, but if you're watching this, I know for sure that there are some stages that there is a time when you're still at high school, and especially when you're like in a young age of say 10 or probably 9, and I do get that, and you're discovering this yourself. I know for sure that, you know, with you watching this video, you pretty much am a younger furry yourself. And the thing about it is that people could refuse to draw you something, or draw your character or whatever, or just make you a fursuit or whatever. I mean, there are artists out there that does this to bring in their own income, and they have to live through that income, and they can't always afford to get free art out there. Same as getting free fursuits. And I do get that now that there are some cheaper alternatives to fursuits. I mean, there are some things in America called basketballs where you can buy from your local Walmart, or here in Australia where there's some what we have that is similar to basketballs called plush heads. I'm not quite sure if they're still on for sale, but you know, just comment down below if they actually are. But even though that personally I don't consider them as fursuits, but at least that there's something, I mean, to close as dressing up as an animal. And there are some kicky style onesies out there, and all that kind of stuff. And staying on that type of topic, even though that, yeah, it kind of sucks that there are not many makers out there that has a certain age limit on who to make fursuits for. Yeah, I do get that. I mean, unfortunately, I do sort of agree with that reason. I mean, there's nothing personal to you. I mean, there's nothing personal, and that's the one thing that I want discuss in a future video. And also, there's some instances where they either find something to whinge about or cause drama, but yet there are some younger furries out there that there's been some claiming of stealing someone else's character or as their own. I'm not defending these type of negative conduct or whatever, okay? And I know that these things have been frowned upon, and even though that you came up with the character of a generic design, like say if you're an orange fox in that, or a natural design, guys, I know for sure that I know that there are people out there that still has the same design as you. You are of a natural design anyway, and if you're an orange fox or whatever, there's going to be like millions, or I'm sorry to exaggerate or something like that, but there's like millions of these things out there. There are some stages of you doing something, but yet you whinge about it. And there's some other times of where some of you tend to be a bit more of a bit of a snowflake or something like that. You know, get easily offended by some certain things, like, you know, with all the swearing and all that kind of stuff. And I know for sure that you can't police that even on YouTube. And you know, there's a lot of things that younger furries do to piss the older people off. And yeah, most of which I'm not defending them and that, but that is exactly no reason why to bully younger furries. And I'm just using those as an example, and using all those bad things that I heard about as an example of why younger furries are hated. Hashtag not all furries. Do that. Just one word. Not all furries. But there are some really interesting things. There's some things of what I like about younger furries as well, like people being into the fandom in this younger age also. I mean, you know, I've seen some younger people and that are doing such amazing contributions into the furry fandom. I mean, for instance, I've seen some kids as young as 9 on the internet, or young, or just take it as young as 9 on the internet, and this kid made her own fursuit, which I'm very amazed because of the ingenuity and craftsmanship at such a young age to make her own fursuit. And yeah, there are some reasons, you know, there are some ways of of kids doing these sort of things because, like I said again, because not all makers make fursuits for kids under 18. So I'm just going to get that covered in that. So those do turn out really amazing. I mean, hell, younger furries themselves are the new generation, and some of them are such amazing artists. I mean, there's an anime artist that I know since he was going through high school, but now he's in college, and he does absolutely amazing anime. He even drew me and his character in that style, and that's really hard. I mean, there's some kids out there, just makes me think, wow, those are really amazingly talented, and I would love to commission these kids myself, if they're open for commissions, that is. And there's the thing, and not all kids are not all younger furries can be pain in the asses, but I mean, I don't know what to say, but those kids themselves, I tell you what, they are more amazing. They can surpass us oldies. And there are younger furries out there that even make videos themselves. You know, I've seen videos of younger furries making their own fursuits, and some, well, they're not as good, but and there are some type of things that they could learn from it. But let's put it this way, younger furries are the future of this fandom. Now, I'm myself 28 years old. I'm not the oldest. Hell, I'm not quite considered as a grey model, but I'm not the youngest. As a matter of fact, I don't need, like I mentioned, that I didn't discover the furry fandom and be more active till I left high school at year 12. But let's put it this way. Now, isn't that they're like the other problems themselves that younger furries are facing at the moment? Like, for instance, you know, there's not all furry conventions are within their age limit or catering to their age limit. I mean, right here in Australia, the only furry conventions that you can go to, or furry events, whatever furry conventions, or if you count them as furry conventions or not, it's entirely up to you. But the only two furry conventions in Australia that, unless that you're 18 plus, are allowed to go to, or for all ages, I might say, is Convergence and Fur Jam. Because, well, it could be for a reason of that other conventions themselves, you know, it just costs a bit more extra money to cater for the younger people or police that. I do get the reason, but yeah, it does suck. And I know that, but I can't really argue with that. But the point about it is that I'm trying to say is that younger furries, or furries that are younger than us, should not be bullied because of what they do. They should be educated, because we've been there. Some of us are younger, been in the fandom since their age, and they shouldn't be it's bad enough that they're bullied for being who they are at school and all that kind of stuff. They should be welcome to this amazing community of ours. And as for our YouTubers ourselves, it is our job to educate them about the wrong, just show them the ropes about the wrong and right things to do, what's okay and what isn't okay. And even though that you don't have to be a furry YouTuber yourself to educate them or show them the ropes, but they're the future. They're the next generation. Because the fact being is that we oldies ain't gonna live that much longer, or ain't gonna live forever. But these young people that are just going into the fandom, they are the future. They could have been the next Bakari, they could have been the next Telephone, or whoever. Just all we need to do is to show them the rope and just carve a right path for them and guide them in. And that's what us YouTubers do. We guide them of showing them what this fandom's about. So even though that this is a very longer video, but I just need to clear this thing out. So please, if you want to, please write down into the comment section, what are your thoughts about younger furries being in this fandom? Or if you're a younger furry, you know, are you a younger furry? You know that? Actually, are you a younger furry yourself? Also, for more awesome content like this, please subscribe to this channel. Press the bell icon so you can be one of the first to know when is my next video coming out. And for more, and if you want to check out some of my social media, which is my Twitter, Furry Amino, Furry Affinity, and all that kind of jargon or whatever. All of that is in the description below. If you enjoy this content, then show me by giving this a thumbs up. And if you want to chat to me or friend me on PSN, my gamer tag is Bruzo21. But as always, I'm signing off by saying, this is the most must-see going here on YouTube, saying, I love you all, thank you for watching, and as always, may the hiss guide you all. Bye for now.